One thing, you know, we do have a president, Bob Schulbaum. Everybody knows Bob, right? But just a little issue with Bob today. His back has seen 3 theaters of World War II and the Korean War, and his back is a little bad today, so we're giving him a break. He's going to be much better, I'm sure, next month and be back with no problem. Other than that, he's in perfect health. But we all have a little arthritis in our backs. After the age of 21, as a matter of fact, everyone has a little bit of arthritis in his back. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today is a national day of mourning for President George Bush. So can we please have a moment of silence for President Bush? Okay, we thank him for all his service, and he was also in World War II. President Bush, he flew a lot of missions, and he was a great soldier and all. We have John Gentith is here to announce our guests. He's going to announce everybody's name who's special guest here, who won't be speaking or announced up here. So please help me welcome John.
Morning, everybody. Morning. Welcome. We have several guests here today. I ask that each of you hold your applause till all the guests are announced. We'll start with Ed Soul, Deputy Secretary, Representative Emily Schlossberg, Abby Roth, aide to Senator Lori Berman, Alex Montalvo, Representative Polsky's office, Jenny Cesar, Congressman Lois Frankel's office, Jessica Solana, Senator Rader's office, Leslie Sherberg, Sheriff Bradshaw's office, Sheriff Bradshaw, Christine Shaw, Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation, Harry Roger, Lake Worth Drainage District, Howie Zimmerman, Palm Beach Property Appraiser's Office, Chris Keene, Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, Chuck Morris, Palm Beach Sheriff's Office. Let's give these folks a round of applause.
We have some elected officials speaking this morning, and we'll start out with our Captain Zant. Right before Captain Zant speaks, just a few announcements here. Remember the Nostalgic Expo lunch today at 11:30 next door. Everybody knows about from that last month. If anybody here who wasn't signed up and would like to go, just see me after the meeting and I'll take your name and then you could go over there. But that's at 11:30 today to kick off our Nostalgic Expo, which will be held on February 21st. Save the date. It's a great day, a fun day. And remember, Friday, February 1st, our wellness screening expert with the Delray Medical Center that we join with them each year. We're revamping our website within the next week or so. You're going to be seeing a new Alliance website that'll be looking really cool and up to date with some new features. Our newsletter, if everyone should have that, every one of our delegates and our representatives should get that in the mail to them. If there's any issue and you don't get it in the mail and the delegate or alternate, let me know about that. And also, it is online. You get a link to it in our emails. Since we last met, actually, we have 2 new county commissioners. Greg Weiss replaced Paulette Burdick, and Bob Weinroth replaced Steve Abrams. And the Alliance is making sure that all of our commissioners, because remember, they all represent us. Mary Lou Berger is here, and she's just the best, and she's District 5, and she's the greatest. But we do have 7 commissioners, and they all vote on things that affect us, so we make sure they all know what our needs are. that's a lot that's happened since then. We had a fantastic HOA, COA board certification course, which was given by our attorney, Joshua Gerson, who'll be speaking today, who's always really, give him a round of applause. He does a great job with us. And we'll learn a lot from him today. Please help me welcome Captain Zant, our captain for District 4 PBS.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's well. I can't believe we're coming to the end of the year already. I got a couple of quick things I want to cover with you today. Let's start off with, I want to say thank you to all our COP units. Do we have any COP units in the room that are active? Very good, very good. I thank you. The Sheriff's Office thank you for your unselfish service and your commitment. Recently, we had a COP unit call in a suspicious person that led to a very good contact for a very not so good kind of guy. So thank you very much. You did exactly what we wanted you guys to do, is to detect and report. So thank you very much. Okay, second off, back in October, the end of October, we started a burglary action plan. You guys do remember when I told you about the helicopters, the increase of helicopter presence in the area, not to be alarmed. All right, well, Sergeant Carver, our friend here today, man over to my right and back, he did an incredible job. I brought him here to recognize his efforts. He did an incredible job putting this together, overseeing the operation. And I just want to present to you all the net results of the collaborated efforts for everybody involved. In between the dates of October 24th and November 22nd, the operation yielded 9 arrests, 65 field interrogation reports, 67 citations, 113 written warnings, 30 verbal warnings, 229 traffic stops, 47 citizen contacts, 72 unmarked patrol hours, 113 hours logged by our community service division, and 1,309 business and residential checks. Now, I don't know if you guys know the full gravity of that, but that is some incredible work. And I thank you very much. I hope you guys get the round of applause. We have seen a tremendous decline in our burglaries since this operation. I've since then approved the suspension of it, and we're moving into now our holiday action plan. We'll be very visible in the plazas. We'll be very visible on the street. Please, we're coming to the holiday season. Store your items away. Lock your cars. Okay? I want to wish everybody a happy holiday season, and I will see you guys all next year. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 3 representatives from Fire Rescue today because we have a presentation for them. We have Drew Rayburn, the Legislative Vice President for the Professional Firefighters. Can you please come up here? Lauren Young and our Chief Mike Amlong, who's filling in for Kim Hughes. And the Chief is going to give us a brief update on what's happening in our area here, Chief Amlong, and we are going to give a little presentation here. We'll do the presentation first, so you can just start taking out. We have there's a drive for socks for seniors. So they are looking to, and we're putting a big bite into it today with 127 socks. Pairs of socks for men and women. They're grip socks, so anti-slip. And they ask for those, so the Alliance is donating that, and some senior citizens will be kept warm and safe this winter season. So thank you very much for the drive, for telling us about that, and you can just take those socks all wrapped up, okay? Thank you. And great. And will the Chief please give us a little update? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry I haven't been to the last couple of meetings. I've been filling in for Kimberly. She's on maternity leave. She should be back middle of this month, possibly, if everything goes well. Just a little update on fire rescue. I want to just add on to the Socks for Seniors program. That's kind of part of a division, part of our emergency medical services division. Lauren is a unique person for fire rescue. She's a licensed clinical worker. So not only are we're working on acute emergency medical issues, we're addressing some of the more longer term, not so emergent issues. And one of those programs that goes hand in hand with the SOX for Seniors is a fall prevention program. As many of you know, we experience a lot of falls with the elderly, and one of the ones we experience also trying to keep a handle on is some of the ones where somebody's fallen and they're not injured. So I don't know if any of you have ever seen, similar to the COP program with the Sheriff's Office, we have a volunteer organization that works with fire rescue. It's called the CARES team. The CARES team usually goes out to some more significant events that help to what we would like to call emotional first aid. So after the emergency, how we help you try to deal with the emergency after the fact and get you some resources to help you manage that incident. But what we're also doing with the CARES team now is they are actually automatically being dispatched with our fire rescue vehicles on calls for service where someone has fallen, but there's no indication of an injury. That is usually precipitous of something that's going to be happening maybe more in the future. And what we can do is try to help you prevent those falls from occurring, and also try to get you some assistance that you may or may not be aware of to kind of prevent that. Because what we don't want to be doing is we don't want to send 911 emergency vehicles to non-emergent events. We want to keep those vehicles available for the serious emergencies, the chest pains, the car accidents and whatnot. We're very more in need of. So anyway, you see those cars out there, you see them show up with a fire rescue vehicle, you'll know why. And they're there to assist you in those non-emergent incidents. It's wintertime. It's getting cold out. We have another cold front coming this evening, and again another one next week. If you're firing up your heaters, you're going to smell that burning smell. Don't worry, it'll burn off. Be careful with the use of space heaters. There's a lot of traffic out there. We're going to experience a lot more traffic accidents. My biggest pet peeve with everyone in any car is wearing your seatbelts. It doesn't matter how far or how short you're driving. Make sure you wear your seatbelts, and also take your time. Don't be in such a hurry that you have to think that you have to, dart across an intersection. Just wait it out a little bit longer. It doesn't matter if somebody, just take your time. Other than that, I wish you happy holidays. Obviously, call us whenever you need us. We're there for you. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to come over and talk to me afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have some elected officials here this morning that will be speaking to us. We have Senator Lori Berman, Representative Tina Polsky, Commissioner Mary Lou Berger, and we have School Board Member Karen Rill. And in that order, they'll be speaking to us. One thing before Senator Berman addresses us, I do have a letter from Congresswoman Frankel wrote to us because we thank her very much for taking care of the issue with our post office in West Delray, which was in pretty poor condition outside. There was a lot of things that needed the landscaping. There's mold on the walls and all. We brought that to their attention, and the United States Postal Service wrote a nice letter to Congresswoman Frankel explaining that they had spoken to me. I was the contact person, and they are going to be getting tree trimming, general landscaping. This is such a big job that they have to get bids for this because it was let go for a while. I think bids for power washing of the exterior of the building and the parking area, and they're restriping the parking lot. And all that is going to be done. And that was all, yes, that was all Congresswoman Frankel that helped us do that. We brought it to her attention, and the Alliance gets things done for you. Yes, we all work together. Now we have Senator Lori Berman.
Good morning, Delray Alliance. Good morning. Thank you. So last week we had our swearing in, and so we are now all official. It was really wonderful to start the year off. I have received my committee assignments. I will be the Vice Chair of Health Policy. I am on the Education Committee, the Environmental and Natural Resources Committee, which will do water and those issues. And then for my Appropriations Committee, which is the Money Committee, I am on the Ag and Natural Resources Committee. So I think it's a very good match for all of us here in Palm Beach County to be on these committees, and I'm looking forward to working. I've also, along with Senator Bobby Powell, who represents North Palm Beach County, he and I will be the two Democratic whips in the new legislature. So we start committee weeks next week, and it's full speed ahead, and I'm looking forward to it. Today, I am doing a program with Representative Schlossberg. It will be at 2 o'clock at Temple Anshe Shalom, and it's about security, especially for Jewish targets because of the increase of anti-Semitism. You're all welcome to come. So if anyone would like to be there, I look forward to seeing you this afternoon. And I wish everyone a most happy, healthy holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for working for us so hard up there. I see that Representative Schlossberg also came through, so she'll be speaking after Representative Polsky.
Hi, good morning, Delray Alliance. I'm so happy to be here, and the first time as a full representative for District 81. That is everything west of the Turnpike from Boca to Lake Worth. So for those of you, I know there's not as many, but those of you west of the Turnpike, I'm so proud to be your representative. As Senator Berman said, we were sworn in last week, and I'm proud to be wearing the pin of the House of Representatives. And there's 120 of us, so I'm very excited to be District 81. I just wanted to let you know our office is the same as my predecessor, Joseph Abruzzo. We are located at Glades in the Turnpike in the shopping center where International Jewelers Exchange is. My fabulous legislative assistant, Alexis, is right there. And Terry Mitzi is also in our office, who many of you know. So we have a nice continuity of staff and office. So I hope you come visit us. Let us know if you have any issues, as I will be putting my bills forward very soon. So whatever you need, please reach out. And I'm really excited to start this new era of being your representative. I want to wish you all happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It'll be a while till we're back because we'll be up in Tallahassee quite a bit through the spring, but I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Special guest just came in, Donna Lerner, our graphic artist for the Alliance. Can you believe it? We have a graphic artist. She's also my sister. Okay, Representative Schlossberg. Good morning, Alliance of Delray, and happy Hanukkah. I'm Emily Schlossberg, and this is the heart of my district, the Alliance of Delray. I'm happy to report that I just filed House Bill 45, which is primary enforcement of texting while driving, and it's one step stricter because it also is primary enforcement of handheld. So last session, we passed House Bill 33 in the House of Representatives, making texting while driving a primary offense, but it failed in the Senate. So this year, House Bill 45, we are going to pass it, and we are going to also pass it with the help of Senator Berman. Where are you, Senator Berman? Yeah, she's gonna help pass it in the Senate. The Senate Majority Leader actually filed it. So committee meetings will start mostly January and February. Session starts March, and I'm hoping at the end of session, we'll have the bill passed and our streets will be safer. My office is on the corner of Hagen Ranch and Atlantic. Where's Ed? Ed Soul. My district secretary, he's somewhere around here. Ed! You can find us on the corner of Hagen Ranch and Atlantic, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We love you, we love our job, and we're here for you. Thank you. Great. And Ed is always here early, distributing your newsletters. Don't worry, he's seeing everybody. Great. And remember that what Nick Uren said last month, texting, driving is now, it's now the distraction, whereas, and everybody's using the phone, so we do have to try to not text and drive. That really is important. We have Mary Lou Berger, our commissioner.
Good morning, Alliance.
Morning.
Oh, come on, you can be brighter than that. Good morning, Alliance. Okay, now that we know that you're awake and had your coffee and your bagels or goodies or whatever it is that you're doing, it's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. Lori mentioned that we have 2 new county commissioners who are serving on the commission with me now, and we're very happy to have them. Although I do miss the ones that were term limited out, particularly Steve Abrams, and most of you know him. He's my partner down here in South County. He had the East and I have the West. And today is Commissioner Abrams' birthday. So if any of you know him or you do texting or anything, today is his birthday. I just came back from Tampa. I was at a conference for the Florida Association of Counties. Those are county commissions from all over the state of Florida. And we come together several times a year to talk about things that pertain to being a county commissioner. One of the things that I did while I was there, I am chair of the Urban Caucus. The Urban Caucus is made up of all the largest counties in the state of Florida. And Palm Beach County is one of them. And what we talked about at the conference was the new 5G technology that's coming out. That is where you will begin to see some changes with the cell towers and things like that, and that is coming. And when I know more about it, because it's a pretty complicated thing, I will get some information to you, especially to the presidents of your associations, so that you know what is going to go on around here. Other than that, this is my favorite time of the year. I hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving. And then we move into all of the holidays. Happy Hanukkah to those of you that are Jewish. Merry Christmas to those of you that are Christian, and Happy Kwanzaa if you celebrate Kwanzaa. So those 3 just make December so nice. So I hope you enjoy it. The weather is perfect for us now, and quote unquote, they're back, and the traffic is terrible. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. Now to hear a little something about our schools and what an update on that, we have school board member Karen Drick. Good morning. So I have to tell you, I walk very gingerly. If you're wondering about these high heels, when I go from this meeting, I go to my school board meeting. And you can't see me when I'm standing next to everybody. And I've decided that this coming year, when I have to slow down on these high stilts, I'm going to bring a little step stool. Because you ladies know how it is. We get shorter and smaller and smaller. And they tease me that they're going to stick me up on the shelf so that you can see me. But today is our reorganization meeting. We were officially sworn in individually, according to state statute, November 20th. But today is our ceremonial swearing in. And we're also going to do our reorganization meeting. So we might have a new chair and a new vice chair, because this year we need to have a lot of teeth. The new Florida Department of Education person, the chair, or the person heading it, is anti-public schools. Richard Corcoran is going to be assuming the position. We've got it on good word that that's what he's going to be doing. And he's a charter school owner. And the head of the House Education Committee is a 27-year-old young lady who, you might have read Frank Cherubino's article, has never been in school. She was homeschooled, okay? She is Tea Party. She is anti-public schools. She wants more vouchers and more charter schools. So, but hopefully I'll be able to find some balance with her, because she does support our students with special needs. But boy, oh boy, we've got a rough year ahead. So I'm going to thank you again for supporting our referendum, because God only knows what they're going to do to our funding. But on that happy note, I want to say Chag Sameach, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, and a happy and a healthy new year to all of you. And look for your school board toughening up next year. Thank you. Thank you for all your work. Now into the regularly scheduled program. We thank GL Homes today for the extra cookies we have and for sponsoring our breakfast. Sarah also is not here today, but she usually comes and visits us monthly. We have Joshua Gersten here. As you know, he ran our board certification course. He is Rutgers graduate. Always got to mention that because that's my alma mater. He holds a Juris Doctorate from Cardozo School of Law at Yeshiva University, New York, and he's a member of the Palm Beach County Bar and was appointed by Palm Beach County Bar to Community Association Law Committee and Circuit Court Committee. He's going to give us a terrific presentation here as usual. Please help me welcome Joshua Gersten.
Morning, everybody. How are you? It's nice to see everybody. Let's get this started. The way I'd like to do this is if you have questions while I'm talking, just feel free to raise your hand and I'll try to get you an answer.
Oh, you know what? One thing, we have this right here.
Yes.
And if people have a question, they can
Okay.
come up here and stand here. Did you want them to come up here while you're speaking or after?
I don't care, so whatever easier
If
for
somebody
everyone.
wants to come up here, or I also have cards, if somebody wants to raise their hand, and we'll hand out cards if you want to write the question down. Otherwise, if there's a question, please come up to the microphone, and then he'll answer it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So that's the way we're going to do the questions. Anyway, there's a lot of information that I'm going to be going over, and I want to just sort of lay the groundwork because I don't want anyone to get overwhelmed. And it's very important to maximize today's presentation. You're taking the time to be here. You might as well get the most out of it. So keep in mind, nobody can remember everything. Take notes directly on this handout. Nobody expects you to remember everything. Beware of professionals that cite case law with, exact quotes and line citations, because that's exactly the type of person you don't want to be advising your association. And it's the type of person you don't want to be, because that shows sort of a lack of knowledge. It's a specific knowledge of a few things, lack of knowledge of a lot of other things. Your best goal, your thing that you want to get out of today is learn to be an issue spotter. I'm going to go over the laws, and within your association in the future, certain issues pertaining to these laws might pop up. Your job is spot the issue and delegate, not necessarily remembering every rule and every law when an issue pops up. All right, so it's very important, because otherwise you guys would be driving yourselves crazy. Even I don't remember everything other than really the bare basics. Okay, let's start with condos. Fines and suspensions with condominium associations. Now, condominium associations, it's usually the reverse, but now there are going to be exactly the same as HOAs. This committee of at least 3 members appointed by the board, can't be a spouse of the person being fined, can't be a spouse of the person on the board as well. And it is the committee that is to determine whether to confirm or reject a fine or a suspension levied by the board. Okay, so what happens is the board decides to levy a fine. Then the condo committee has the notice and a hearing that everyone else here is used to. The condo committee decides whether to accept or reject the fine that was levied by the board. The fine is then due in 5 days. Okay, so the board no longer has the power to confirm or reject a fine. It is now the condominium committee that does it. That's quite a big change that came in 2018. Another change had to do with notice of board meetings. A lot of community associations and condo associations, as of probably 3 weeks from now, January 1st, are required to have websites. And on those websites, you can post board meetings and other things that you're actually required to post. And I'll get to that. It's a few slides up. But the question that has come, if I post a board meeting notice on my condominium's website, do I still have to post it? Do I still have to send out letters or emails or anything else like that? And the answer is yes. You have to post it on the condominium's website, send emails to people who agree to accept notices via email, and include a link to the posting on the website. Plus, people that haven't agreed to email still have to get the regular mail. Okay, so it's made it somewhat easier, but not really. And those are, again, you still have to post a notice on the website, email people that agree to that, send them a link to where the posting is, and send snail mail to people who do not agree to get notices via regular mail. Now, what happens if you send an email to someone who agreed to accept notices by mail and it went into their spam box and they never got it? It's not your problem. As long as you can show that the email was being sent, that's all that you're required to as far as notice is concerned. It's up to the owner to make sure their spam filters are set properly so they get all of your emails. This has caused a lot of controversy. The next item, which is the term limits on condominium association board members. The legislature passed law that says in 2018, it says condominium board members cannot serve for more than 8 consecutive years. The question then became, is that to be applied retroactively and causing a lot of people that theoretically could be midterm to leave, or maybe after their term ended leave? Or does it apply after their term ends and then for the following 8 years? And the answer to that is, there is no answer. There's a glitch bill that's supposed to be coming out next session that will fix it to determine which way the legislature intended. But until then, it is reasonable to have your 8 consecutive term leader tell them it's off, he or she is off the board, they can't run again. And it's also reasonable to start that 8-year consecutive clock after that term ends going forward. Both are reasonable interpretations of the statute. I say that you should leave it up to your individual board to vote on and decide, and then just wait for the glitch bill to come out. Okay, so now official records, the bane of my existence. Anyone that doesn't pay their assessments or is mad just because they're mad likes to use official records to drive everyone crazy. They've made it a little bit easier for condominium associations. Instead of 5 days, you have 10 working days to produce the records that are demanded. Voting records that are now electronic, because you can do electronic voting, voting records that are electronic must be kept as well. You must permanently maintain the following documents from the inception of the association. So if anyone out there has a condominium association that's 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, and going forward in the future, you are supposed to keep these documents forever. It's your governing documents, meeting minutes, and copies of plans, permits, and warranties provided by the developer at turnover. Those documents are supposed to never be destroyed. I've got a question right here. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's go back to the association.
Okay.
Now, I am a president of my association.
My condolences.
Let me say something about the condominiums where I live anyway. People are very old. People cannot be on the board. They haven't got the capacity to be on the board.
I'll repeat the question, Dory.
So what's happening now to a lot of condos, they cannot get people to go on their board. We're lucky that I got 4 people to go on my board. I'm the president. Now, if I stop being the president of my association, the chances are they will not have anybody who will be young enough or be willing to do these jobs.
Okay.
So as a result of this, Tallahassee says they must have a board of directors. Am I right?
Yes, you must have a board of directors for your condominium association, or it's against the law. It's against a nonprofit law. It's against a condominium law. But I can tell you this: if you're worried about the fact that your association won't have people to fill vacancies, and that the people that were prior on the board have been there for 8 consecutive years, and the law says now they have to get off, Tallahassee actually did give an escape hatch. If there are no eligible candidates, okay, that have filed to serve, you can continue to serve beyond the 8 years, regardless of how we applied it. Sure.
If there is no one who is really able to take these positions on, Tallahassee says you must have a president and everything. Now I understand that if the condo can't do it itself, if Tallahassee has to set up a board of directors and the condos have to pay for this, am I right?
Yes, well, if you cannot get a board of directors for your condominium association, anyone who is a member can apply to have the condo placed in receivership. And if you're placed in receivership, it's very expensive. And it's just not good at all, because you lose control of your condo to people, 3 people or actually 1 person who's a receiver who's not actually living there. And yes, it's a bad result, but that's why you have to fill those positions. If you do not have at least 3 directors on your board, you can be subject to receivership.
You have to have
At least 3. Okay. If you want, you gotta go up there, or we'll catch you after. Okay, sure. Breaking the rules, we don't care. I'm a rebel too. Yeah, I got you. Oh, that's a great question. The question is for record-keeping requirements. Do you have to have hard copies or electronic copies? Okay. The hard copies have to be of the, where are those documents? Right there. The articles, the governing documents have to have hard copies. Articles, declaration, bylaws, and rules, as well as copies of plans, permits, and warranties, not meeting minutes, but plans, permits, and warranties have to have hard copies. Okay. And they have to be available, readily available, basically at the association office. Condominium websites. Does everybody here know that condominiums have to have a website by January 1st? Okay, good. You guys are excited about it, I can tell. If you guys screw up your website, it doesn't invalidate any action or decision by the board, but that's probably going to be coming down the pike sooner or later. So it's good to have somebody manage your website for you, or at the very least set it up in a way so that it's sort of foolproof. Biddings of materials and equipment that have now closed must be posted on the condominium's website, as well as any bids received within the past year. Summaries for bids of anything exceeding $500 is required to be posted on the website. If you make a mistake and post something on the website like you shouldn't, like a delinquent report, like do not post your delinquencies on your website, okay? But you'd be surprised, it's typically not the board members, it's the person running the website. They'll post something like that, and it's brutal. You're not going to be held liable for that for now, but in the future you will, unless you intentionally decide, decide to break the law and you intentionally disregarded it. That's one thing. But for now, negligence is excused by what you post. So they're trying to get you to post as much as possible. But I can tell you that just pay attention to these guidelines so that you adhere to them in the future. I recommend you show these guidelines to whoever's making your website so that he can or she can put in sort of barriers to you making mistakes. Maybe a questionnaire before you post something, or only a specific type of document gets posted. That way you can avoid posting things that you shouldn't. Okay, if you do not have anything in your governing documents regarding material alterations, which could be actually not material, but still be considered material, such as painting or changing the way something looks, if your documents do not say that a certain percentage has to be approved, has to approve of that material alteration, the law now makes it automatically 75% of the members. Okay, so it used to be if your documents didn't say what the material alteration standard was, there's ways of devising it in which a lot of times you can get below the 75% threshold. Now, if you have condominium documents and you want to alter something, a common element or a common area, and you do not have the provision in your document saying the votes you need, it is now automatically 75%. That might seem like a high threshold, but it's actually pretty good, because the changes to common elements should have owner approval, because typically they're expensive and long lasting. And frankly, in most condominium documents, I've never seen lower than a majority. Electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are coming to town, and if you would like one, your condo association cannot prohibit the installation of a charging station within the boundaries of the parking area. They can take over a parking space for charging. Okay, there's still certain restrictions that have to be abided by, and those are in the statute regarding electricity, grounding, and things like that. But the condominium association cannot reject somebody's request to install a charging station for their electric vehicle. That's it for condos. Going to move into HOAs. Yes, ma'am.
I got 2 points. raise a clarification.
Sure.
When is that glitch law coming?
No.
So,
Yeah, well, the glitch law is being worked on, so it'll be whenever the next legislative session is. Yes, yeah, exactly.
And the other, when you said do not post delinquencies, what do you mean by delinquencies?
I mean, people that owe the association money, members, yeah. Delinquent assessments are governed by the Federal Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and you should never identify the name of a debtor in public. Okay? Yes, sir. Yes. Okay, the question was the documents that you have to give over to a potential new purchaser. There's always that bundle of documents. Do those have to be on the website as well, starting January 1st? And the answer is yes. Hopefully that'll save people a lot of time. Okay.
Setting up the charge for the car, who pays for it?
Who pays for what?
Charging,
What, the website?
no, the charging of the car.
Oh, who pays for it is the owner of the car. The owner of the car is responsible for it.
On the HOA, I'm sorry, meeting announcements,
Condo.
it's only condo?
Yes, that was only condo.
Okay, great, thank you.
The electric charging stations, what would you require from the person putting it in as far as insurance or liability required?
Sure. The question is, what do you charge these vendors who are installing this, or what do you see? And what you really want to see is a licensed contractor who has the association named as an additional insured. Okay? Licensed contractor that will name the association as an additional insured. What you need to do is to pass that requirement as a rule in your association before you get a request. Okay?
Does the resident have to have any additional insurance on his own personal insurance?
No, asking the resident to have, additional insurance would be considered a hindrance to the law. So the insurance that the contractor has, to the extent of them screwing anything up while they're actually building, that's really the extent of it. Now, the owner might have coverage under his or her own insurance coverage as far as it relates to their unit, but it's not something that you can absolutely require that owner. Yeah.
This rule that you're talking about, is that just a guideline that the board would get a lawyer to?
Yes.
That would be enough?
Yes, and that would be to make sure any contractors installing electric charging stations name the association as an additional insured. Okay, great. HOAs, there's not much, okay, for 2018. A fine approved by the committee of an HOA is due 5 days after the committee meeting at which the fine is approved. So the board levies the fine. The committee then actually has that notice and hearing. So the law figures that with the notice and hearing, you know what's going on, even if you don't show up. And if you don't show up 5 days after the meeting, the fine is due. Okay? And then, of course, the elections. Another change is that if there are fewer than equal number of candidates and vacancies, then the nominations from the floor are not required and write-in nominations are not permitted. And the candidates will commence at the next board meeting. Okay, and that is really interesting, because what you would have is you would have HOAs that had a procedure where they accepted nominations from the floor, but to the lead up to the meeting, there was no candidates that submitted their intent to actually run. So what would happen is sometimes you'd go to a meeting and just nobody would run and the board would take over, but it's a big waste of time and resources because you still had to do the nominations from the floor. If nobody submits their intent to run for your HOA, you don't have more candidates than there are seats, you do not have to do nominations from the floor. Okay, so you would have your annual meeting, but you wouldn't have your election. Okay. Payment of HOA assessments. This is good for lawyers, and I'm glad a lot of legislatures are lawyers, because when an owner pays a delinquent assessment, a lot of times what they try to do is pay everything except the late fee, the interest, and the attorney's fees, because they say, let me see that association chase me for $100 or $200. They'll never do it. I'll just pay whatever. And that's not really fair to the other members. Anyway, so now the HOA association, when they get a partial payment, has to be applied to late fees and attorney's fees first. So what does that mean? That means a partial payment will show up as the assessment being partially paid. So if you have a $1,000 assessment, it looks like they didn't pay, let's say, $300 of that assessment as compared to not paying late fees and interest, and people sort of blow it off. So That is really important for associations to know. If somebody is a partial payer, they're actually not paying the assessment. Everything else, the fees, that gets taken off the top, and you should continue on collecting. They updated the law to make sure it does not interfere with the Uniform Commercial Code, which requires payments to vendors and certain delinquent payments for goods to be applied in a certain way. As far as board members and email, board members in email is something that constantly pops up, and I can tell you this, and this is the way it is in condo law as well, okay? HOA directors, as of 2018, are allowed to use email to communicate. I don't, we talk about a waste of paper for them to, sort of put that out in writing, but it brings you to the fact is the legislature says board members can communicate via email, but you still cannot vote via email. And I can't tell you how many times I'm included on a chain email and board members are coming to a decision on the chain email. You cannot do that. You're going to have a problem in the future. You can discuss things on email, but do not come close to a decision on a chain email that includes a quorum of the board. All right? Sober homes. Sober homes, okay. I heard a big sigh there. Sober homes are in condos and HOAs. A lot of people think they just pop up in HOAs. That is not true. They are also in condominiums. And if you know there's a sober home in your association, it's too late. You basically have a lot of problems. There's no stopping. How do we get sober homes? Sober homes, a lot of people think sort of stem from the ADA. They somewhat stem from the ADA, but the real root is the Fair Housing Act and the amendments that were put into place by Ronald Reagan. And basically, they're like halfway homes or group homes. They're known as community residences. And the idea was that if people who were suffering from either addiction, from a former incarceration, if they lived with other people that were experiencing the same thing or lived with people that maybe were more advanced in coming back into society, they would get better faster. And they have community residences. What happened is that they realized that there's zoning laws in towns that prohibit the amount of people that are unrelated can live together. Plus, there are restrictive covenants in HOAs and condos saying the same thing. And the Fair Housing Act now specifically requires HOAs and condos and cities and counties to make special accommodations to basically disregard a lot of their zoning laws as it relates to people living together if you have a sober home or a community residence, as it's called. And federal law trumps everything. Okay, typically a sober home comes in, it is a nonprofit organization, a nonprofit corporation. And what happens is, though, the person that's making application to your association to live there is not doing it under the corporate name. That might be who they work for, but they're doing it in their own individual name. And then when everyone comes in, they say, this is our sober home. And any money that comes in, they run through the corporation. They're not that easy to spot, but they typically are nonprofit corporations. But the guy that shows up at your interview is not going to say, hey, I'm with so-and-so sober home. This place looks great. In 2015, because of our beautiful weather and the easy access to opioids with all those pill mills, Florida really just blew up. South Florida in particular with sober homes. I've got sober homes in a bunch of my communities. They just sort of came out of nowhere, okay? Governor Scott in April of 2018 declared a statewide emergency. I think something like 10 people a day were dying from opioid overdoses, and within sober homes that were unregulated, a lot of former addicts were being put in and they were still abusing and they were still dying. They weren't helping, they were actually exacerbating the problem. The problem is, what do you do? If you cannot prohibit sober homes, you can't tightly regulate them, what do you do? A lot of states or cities and counties have tried in the past, as well as HOAs, and they found themselves on the losing end of a very large verdict that they violated the Fair Housing Act. Thankful, though, to Palm Beach County Attorney Dave Arenberg, who really was really has a lot of foresight in how to sort of handle this problem without running afoul of federal law. There are rules now in place that chokes the money out of a sober home. So sober homes are still allowed, but in order for them to get referrals from state agencies and for them to qualify for a certain money, they have to be certified. And if they're not certified, they're not against the law. But if they're not certified, they're not going to get a big source of funds that they typically would get. And it's causing a lot of unscrupulous sober homes to just run out of money. Okay, so the sober home does not have to be certified. It's not required by law, it's voluntary, but they can't get any funds from any state or other government organizations. And that is having the effect of squeezing and dying a lot of sober homes. But there still are a lot of them left. They're also pursuing takebacks and RICO and patient brokering laws as it relates to sober homes. So there are laws and there are rules that are being put into effect that are trying to stop the spread of sober homes. Now it's a question of, making sure the ones that are in there are actually running properly and are not destroying your own community association. Boynton Beach and Delray are also trying their own initiatives. Frankly, they haven't been tested in court. They're trying to limit how close sober homes can live amongst each other. So you could have, right now, you could have a sober home and right next door have another sober home and then right next door have another sober home. Delray and Boynton Beach are trying to get rid of that, limiting, how close together they can be, whether or not that is going to be found to be lawful according to the Federal Fair Housing Act, who knows? As of 6 months ago, there were 180 sober homes in Delray and 50 in Boynton Beach. So what can you do with a sober home? Okay, governing document amendments that are designed to block, evict, or otherwise single out a sober home just because it's a sober home will not work. Okay, so if you say no sober homes are allowed, you're going to end up getting sued and you're going to lose. If you pass an amendment that says no businesses are allowed in our community and you're trying to sort of backdoor prohibit sober homes, you're going to lose that as well. Sober homes are not considered businesses no matter how much money they make. Okay? Or it's not considered a business out of your home. Okay? So you can't do that either. So what can you do? Well, the key thing is figuring out whether or not your governing documents permit you to interview, do a background check, and also reject potential renters and buyers. Okay? If they don't, there's very little what you can do. Okay, now if they do, then what you need to do is look at those laws. The law has changed. You can't just prohibit felons. Because if you prohibited felons, that actually would be a good way to limit the possibility of the sober home, because a lot of these people have been incarcerated. You might come across a lot of felons, but as of 2 years ago, community associations cannot blanketly prohibit felons, okay? Everyone has to be reviewed on an individual basis. But if you have in your governing documents that you can prohibit felons, so that every felon's gonna get a chance at an interview and everyone is going to be looked at, and somebody with a conviction 25 years ago, you're not gonna have justification to get rid of. But if a guy comes in and says, hey, here's my record or what have you, and he does have a conviction in his background, a felony that might be relevant to your association, doesn't fit into the geniality of your association. And with this demographic, it would be abuse of senior citizens, drug manufacturing, burglary at night, things like that, where you guys are more susceptible to those type of felons. You wouldn't want to be in your neighborhood, and you can prohibit those felons. And by attrition, you will, in ways, be proactive and sort of get the cream off the crop. Because what happens is the sober home operators, the ones that are unscrupulous, they know which associations are proactive and they know which associations are not. And if you sort of can put up a decent legal barrier to the composition of a person that won't fit in your community, they'll move on most of the time. They will move on most of the time. So again, you need to check the documents to see if your association can reject potential renters, right? Because if the sober home has a person in there, you also want to be able to interview any other person that comes in there, okay? You also want to look at whether or not you can reject purchasers. And the basis that you can do it, you have to make sure it conforms to law. You get all those things down, you will be able to sort of knock off the easy ones. And that'll be a great benefit to your community association. Okay, now, another thing is enforcement. Sober homes typically have, like, that are in community settings, typically can be identified by people standing outside smoking cigarettes in the middle of the day. And I don't want to cast aspersions on sober homes themselves and the purpose that they're supposed to, be for, because that is a great goal, obviously, to get people more productive and out of society. They just don't belong, as neighbors in a residential neighborhood some of the times, or most of the times. Anyway, you can identify them during the day. They're outside smoking cigarettes. It's usually too many cars, because they drive, and too many people loitering and littering, okay? Those are nuisance things. If you document the nuisances and it gets to the level where other neighbors complain and becomes a true nuisance, where people around that sober home cannot enjoy their own property because of what is going on, okay, then the association can act and seek to actually maybe remove one or two people in the sober home, or in the very least, demand compliance by the owner, fine the owner. And what that gets to is that owner is going to know this association's proactive. So if he speaks to any of his other sober home buddies, he'll say, you know what, this association here, what a pain in my rear. They're constantly sending me letters, they're constantly doing this, they're constantly doing that. Up the street, there's that other association, I never hear from them. That's the type of place you want to be, okay? You cannot enforce aggressively against the sober home just because they're there. Everyone has to be enforced uniformly, but if you watch a sober home and you watch what goes on, most of the times, there's just violations because they don't fit into how the community was originally built. They're just, again, the litter, the smoking, the parking, things like that. So if you can monitor your association and you do have good rules and regulations regarding behavior, that is another avenue for associations to help with this problem of sober homes. Okay, briefly, we got 3 cases that are exciting and new for community associations. The first one is, there's always that guy that likes to bring his personal trainer into the gym to help him work out. And then that gym always happens to be in the clubhouse, where the clubhouse also has hired somebody or set up an exclusive marketing deal for a personal trainer as well. And the clubhouse rules say no commercial business in the clubhouse. So is this guy's trainer operating a commercial business by training this one person? And the Supreme Court of Florida said no. That person, if he's not soliciting, even though he's paying that member, or that member's paying for that person to be there with him, that person is not operating a business out of that club. That person is considered a guest of the member and is allowed to be there. Okay. Public adjusters, nothing wrong with public adjusters. Let me know when you find one that works out well. Nonetheless, the public adjusters that were trying to get excessive fees that exceeded the 20%, okay, which would also include attorney's fees and costs for them to file actual suit and then assign the claims on, sometimes getting as much as 40 to 50% of the recovery, they are no longer allowed to do that. The recovery of a public adjuster is limited to 20%, and the public adjuster potentially loses their right to claim anything if over time, because basically things that they're doing, such as 20% here, then 20% for a lawsuit because they assign the claim, 40%, that public adjuster will lose rights to any percentage. 20% for public adjusters maximum. Make sure your attorney reads the contract. A public adjuster usually comes in, and again, there are some reputable ones. Just in general, though, it's usually in a time of need, okay? And the public adjuster is there on the scene. I work with this, I could do this, I could do that. You need to really be careful when you sign agreements with public adjusters. You need to check them out, take a breather, okay? Because no matter what they do, okay, it's always going to take a couple of days for them to interact with the insurance company. They're not going to get payment like, that day or anything else like that. There's no rush. There's no rush. You stop the emergency, you're looking to get paid back by the insurance company. There's no rush. Okay, always read those agreements, have your attorney read them to make sure you don't have any problems. Final thing is prejudgment interest. It gets calculated now from the date the unpaid assessment became due, which is actually very good for associations, because now associations, they will be able to get more interest on overdue assessments when they go to court with a foreclosure. That actually could add up to quite a bit of money if the foreclosure takes, let's say, a year to be resolved or 2 years to be resolved. You could be, losing out on possibly 18% a year of what's owed. So what do? Check your governing documents to make sure you're allowed to charge interest, make sure they're legal, and if you do not have any governing documents, put it in. It's not automatic. If it doesn't say in your documents that you can charge interest, you can't. But now that the way the case law has come down, you can really maximize that amount of money, sort of get paid when the assessment is delinquent, and it's something every association should consider having in their governing documents. Okay, if you enjoyed my speech, please write a review on Google, because that's good for me. If you didn't enjoy it, just write it down on a little piece of paper and then hand it to me as I'm on the way out, like a real tiny piece of paper. I'm just kidding. Thank you. You guys are great. Questions?
Does anybody else have any questions?
Questions? I will stay here as long as you want to answer questions, so don't worry about it. So come on down. Okay. Good. How you doing?
Is it the size of the condominium required as far as the website?
Yes, there is a certain minimum as far as the condominium is concerned. Size does matter as far as condominium websites are concerned. Contact me and I can give you the specifics because I don't know offhand. Okay, any questions on this? If I don't answer today, if you guys have any questions in the future, my information is all over the packets. Email me, 24 hours, typically I'll get back to you. It's been my pleasure. Yes, Ari.
Just please answer that question that I was discussing with you. The responsibility of the board to send out items for bid, the homeowners association responsibility of the board.
Okay, the question is just in general, didn't have to do with the presentation, but just in general, homeowners associations, when do you need to seek bids on contracts or vendors? Anybody know? Okay, you got, if you guys were in my certification course last month and you don't know this, duck, it's okay, I'm just kidding. HOAs, if the materials, services, or anything is either going to be ongoing for more than 1 year, it has to be in writing, and if it's going to be 10% or more of the association's budget, including reserves, it has to go out for bid. 10% or more of the association's budget, including reserves, that item has to go out for bid. And you really should bid out things because that's one thing that financial investigators always look at.
Mr. Gerson,
Yes.
it's a little off topic, but
Okay.
we have two homeowners who left their homes. They both had reverse mortgages. They said, we left, we're done, we're finished.
Right.
Nobody pays.
Okay, the question is, there's two homes, nobody's paying, they left, reverse mortgages, and blah, blah, blah. Well, a reverse mortgage doesn't actually take over the home until certain things happen. If there's any sort of default, I guess if the owner dies, they'll take it over. But you're gonna have a hard time getting a reverse mortgage company to take over a home now because they really can't. They're actually probably prohibited from doing it. So what do? You need to collect because that home can sit for 5, 6, 7 years and you can rent it out. Palm Beach County rental rates are almost at an all-time high. Nobody's buying homes as much as they used to as compared to renting. The rental market is tight as can be. And in a situation like that, it sounds like you probably have a couple of years already in the past, if not now, when you start collecting, you'll eventually get title to it. It shouldn't be that much because they won't fight it, and then you can rent it out.
But the bank has to contact us, we have to contact them.
Listen, the bank is a senior lien holder, so you don't have to do anything with the bank as far as renting it out. You don't have to contact them or anything. You could rent it out, title will be in the name of the association, and when the bank is ready, the bank forecloses, and that's it. You put in the lease, this is in foreclosure, or this is how we got this, and everyone's fine with it. Everyone's fine with it, and it's a good way to make money. Really, it's very easy to rent out places. Okay. If you catch them before they get moldy and everything else, of course.
Right, so you're saying if you have a reverse mortgage, you can rent out your place?
I'm saying that if the reverse mortgage holder has left, has vacated the place, and the association is owed past due assessments, the association can foreclose, get title, and rent out the place until the reverse mortgage lender takes over.
They'll allow you to do that?
Doesn't matter if they allow, you're allowed to do it by law. And they actually cannot prohibit you from doing it.
First mortgage wants you to rent it out.
If the reverse mortgage company is totally separate from you, you're the association, you've got a separate interest. If the reverse mortgage has a problem with that, that's actually between them and the owner that vacated, not the association. The association will actually get title to the place and be able to rent it out once they foreclose.
Oh, I see. If you don't want to be there anymore, they can rent it out.
Only the association, not you, not you, not you. This is not for, if you have a reverse mortgage, you cannot rent it out to somebody. We're talking about a specific situation where reverse mortgage was on a property and the owner vacated and abandoned the property. That's the only situation that could be rented out.
I had one other question.
Sure.
Okay. I live in a condo that hasn't done any kind of activity except pool.
Okay.
And I paid except we pay. They have not let us use the clubhouse, only for events. They closed it up, so you can't go in there and sit. You know, that's one of the positives.
It's tough for me really to give specific, you know, as to your situation, but if you'd like, you can give me a call or email. I'll be more than happy to talk to you. It'd be my pleasure.
I don't think it's fair. A lot of people are very upset.
You could call or email me. I'd be happy to go over with you.
Okay, I don't think it's fair.
Okay. No, I get it. And I want to hear you out. Call or email me. It'd be my pleasure.
They're always saying that somebody did something.
Okay, and I just want to let them go too. I want to let them go too.
Okay, so then I should call you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And my number's on the papers. Yes, ma'am.
Repairs are being made in a condo association. Certain repairs require certain grades of material, be waterproof, fire, whatever. Is that required to be posted on the website when a job is being done, the materials that are used? Because certain things are recalled materials that people use. And also, is it my correct understanding that any job over $500, they have to get 3 bids for and posted?
No. See, here's the thing. Any job that's for more than $500 in which you did get bids, okay, that has to be posted on the website. You only have to get bids though if you're at, if I think in the condo it's 10% of your budget, including reserves, okay? If you get bids, those go on the website. The bids, if you're talking about a complex construction project, the bid will have the materials in it. The bid should be very, very detailed, and they'll have the manufacturer, they'll have the warranty, they'll list all that. So if you want to see that, that has to be on the website. It should be there, without a doubt.
You're not required to get bids from different people for a project over $500. They choose not to.
$500 is too low. It has to be 10% of your budget, including reserves. You're welcome.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays. You guys are great. Enjoy your holidays. Be safe.
Thank you very much. And next, in January,